Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In this video, part 2 of our project about deploying a Node.js application, we are going to look at how to persist data in our Docker container using a MySQL database. So a few things to take note of. We're going to use a MySQL container. So we will pull a MySQL image from Docker Hub and then we will run it, which makes it a container at that point. And then to run a MySQL image, you need to set some environment variables like password, username, database name, etc. And then we will look at how to deploy a container network so that the MySQL database container can communicate with our to-do app container. And then of course we will go on to test and verify to be sure that the application is working and that any data that the user inputs into our app is actually being stored by the database. Let's go back to our terminal. So I'm gonna clear this. By the way, if you check Docker PS, see that our to-do app container is actually running right now. Before we even import the MySQL database image, we need to create first a container network or a Docker network. And to do that, you use the commands Docker network create. Now, if you do this, it will give you the commands to use to run Docker network. You can connect, create, disconnect, etc. Okay, in this case, we are trying to create. So Docker network create. The network, I'm going to call it to-do app network. Docker network ls will list all the networks that you've created. So this is our network we just created, to-do app network, which is a bridge network. Now once you've created that, we are gonna now try to run our MySQL container in detached mode, and then you need to specify the network. You call it to-do app network, and then let's give the network an alias. So let's give it network alias. We call it MySQL. Normally you use the name of the container, which is its host name, as the network alias. And then I'm going to attach a volume, because in Docker you want to attach a volume, use the flag v. Let me break this line and go to the next line. So dash v to do MySQL data, and we are mounting it to var lib MySQL. So it's basically mounting the storage space on your container to the storage space of the MySQL database. Next, we need to specify some environment variables. You use the flag e. To know all this, you just need to look up MySQL, go to Docker Hub. This is the official one. Okay, so this is the image we are trying to pull. To know all the information that I'm typing down there, here are some examples, but we need to specify environment variables. So our command is gonna look more like this. So you specify some name, you attach the volume, and then you specify the environment variables like this. Okay. And there's some more information that you can read on this page. Okay, and so you can clearly see there are so many environment variables that you can specify: the password, the host, database, username, and so forth. For our case, currently we need a root password, which is this one right here. Paste it. Of course, in production environment, you don't want to state your root password in the open like this. So what you would do is rather to do my root password underscore file, using the underscore file, add it to this, and then you give the command a path to where the file is stored. You store the file in /run/secrets, and then if it's a txt file, you state the name of the txt file right there, and this will automatically pick up the contents of that file. But for now, I'll just write the password here as secret. Another environment variable that I need to specify is the database. So I'll copy this, paste it, and I'll call the database to do app DB database. Okay, and of course we are trying to run a Docker image for MySQL. Okay, we still haven't stated it here, so it's MySQL 8.0. That's the one that we are trying to run. Okay, so when I press enter, what this will do is first look in my local environment if I have this Docker image available already. If it's not there, then it will pull it from Docker Hub. So press enter. Now I already did it in a trial version, so this already exists. Other than that, it would show pull complete. When I do Docker images, you see MySQL 8.0 right here. Okay, let's create a screen. If I do docker ps, I should now see two containers running, one for our app, one for our database, MySQL. Okay, now that the two containers are running, let's make sure that the database that we created, which is to do DB, is actually created inside our container. And so to do that, I'll go into the interactive terminal of our container MySQL. So I'll use docker exec, then the container ID is this, paste this here, and it's MySQL, that's the name. And the user, I'm going to use root, and this will ask for a password because we provided a password when we run it. Okay, press enter, and the password, remember, is secret. Enter secret, and we are inside a container. So some MySQL commands you can run here. You can run show databases, and these are all the databases that are in there. This is the one that we just created using the docker run command to run the Docker image. Alright, so that shows us our MySQL Docker container is working correctly. Alright, so I'm gonna just get out of this using the keyword exit. Okay, both containers are running, but how do we get the two containers to communicate to each other? How do we get them to actually allow traffic to and fro from each other so that any data that is put in here is saved in the MySQL container, right? How do we do that? Now, that's when networking comes in. Remember, we created a Docker network earlier. We called it to do app network. If I do docker network ls, this is the network we created earlier. But on this network, we need another application that will facilitate the flow of traffic from one container to the other, such that whenever there's anything to troubleshoot or anything to debug, this application will step in to fix everything as far as traffic between the two containers are involved. Okay, now this is a very famous container out there. I'm gonna use this application called Netshoot. And Netshoot is a Docker image that facilitates the flow of traffic between or multiple Docker containers that are running. This is a very good application, by the way. I'm going to install this or run this container as well to facilitate that. And so to run it, you have docker run -it, and I have to specify the network. Our network is called to do app network. And this application that I specified here, the name is Nicolaka Netshoot. So that is exactly the name on the GitHub repo. Press enter. Alright, I already tried this out, so it says it already exists. If not, it will say that it's pulling from each one of these images. Okay, alright. Now let's see how it actually facilitates the communication between two containers. I'm going to use the command dig. Now dig basically fishes for information about each container. So if I wanted information about MySQL, I just do dig MySQL, and that will give me some information about the MySQL container right here on that traffic. So if you look at the answer section, you see MySQL, and you see this right here. It looks like an IP address. This is the IP address that Netshoot assigns to the MySQL container. Once you assign an IP address to a container, you've basically opened up traffic to that container. It will do the same thing for our to-do app and then cause the two of them to communicate with each other. That is just by the way. I'm going to exit out of this. Then I'll clear the screen. Okay. Containers are both running. Let's try to connect the two together. So we can clearly see that our Docker image for MySQL is running currently, but we have several Docker images here. Currently only the database container is running. Let's run our application image. Let's run the container for that, and let's see whether it's able to communicate with MySQL Database. Currently, this is our application. If you refresh it, because the application is stopped, there's nothing here. It will not load. So I'm gonna run our Docker image on the network that we created, which is to do app network, setting the working directory and the volume, and then providing the MySQL environment variables. And then this is our to do app. That's the name of the image right here. And then we use shell to run a dev environment for container. All right. And then of course we are forwarding ports 3000 on our container to 3000 on our local host. Press enter and the container is started. So docker ps, you see your MySQL container running. You see your application container to do app running as well. So at this point, if you use the IP address and the port number 3000, this should come back up. Okay, so you see more items in here. Okay, when I add some more, this should reflect in our database. So some more and more items. Include an item every minute. Just adding stuff in here. Okay, of course you can delete stuff too. Okay, so when I run docker exec in interactive mode, which is the terminal of the container, and I take my MySQL container ID, and of course the name is MySQL, the user is root, and this should ask for a password, which is /p, and our database is called to do app DB. That's how we called it earlier. So I made an error somewhere. Oh, this should be together DB. Right. And remember our password is secret. Press enter. You see that we are in. So show databases. These are all the databases. This is our database. That's the one that we are trying to look into. So some MySQL commands, select star from to do items. By the way, don't forget to terminate each MySQL command with a semicolon. Okay. So you see that the stuff that we just added, that include an item every minute and stuff, have already been added here. I'm gonna add even some more. Red menu. Let's see. Now when I refresh this or rerun the same command, see red menu is appeared here. Okay, so everything is working correctly. Our data is being persistent. Let's exit. And so I'll end this part here. So far we've set up a MySQL container, put the image, set our environment variables, password, root user, and database and stuff. And we deployed that container on a network using NetShoot. And we've also verified the deployment in our web browser. You've seen the actual interactive content of our MySQL server. Okay, and on the website also everything is working correctly. All right, thank you for joining me in this video. Please stick around for part 3, which is the final part of this project. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and leave any comments you have in the comment section below. See you on the next one.